Hello. Welcome to this podcast. So, my name is Emma, in case you didn't know. And this is my podcast. Now, you might be wondering, why do you have a podcast? What is this about? And to that, I have to say, I wanted one. So, there's a few reasons behind the podcast. Number one, I really love to talk. You might not know this about me. Well, most people probably do know this about me. I love to talk. Talking is one of like my favorite things, and I mean that so genuinely, and it didn't really happen like in adulthood. It stemmed from my childhood. I've always loved to talk, and I've never really like thought much about it, if that makes any sense. So, for example, I used to like sit in the kitchen and do my homework in middle school, and my mom would be like doing the dishes or whatever, and I would talk through my homework problems. And I like never really noticed or cared, like that's just what worked for me, so I didn't really like think twice about it. I never like thought about other people being in the room, like ever. And so like that was sort of the first. I didn't even like when she said that, it didn't even like, it wasn't a realization either. That was just sort of, I was like, okay, and what about it? And then, as I've grown up and gone through college and everything, I have sort of realized that I talk more than the average person does, for better or worse. I personally think it's fine. Because I also listen. I love to listen. I love to converse, all the things. But at the end of the day, I enjoy talking, and not just around family and friends. I really enjoy talking to myself. I do it a lot. I've always done it. Like I said, I've always been talking to myself, not really like I didn't care if other people were in the room or not. Like I speak words. It's not even talking to myself as much as it is simply talking out loud to no one. And that's a podcast is like a great way to do that in a productive way. The baby that lives upstairs from me has decided to start crying. So I do apologize if you can hear that, but I also can hear it. And I wish that baby all the best, and I hope that they are okay. So I was talking about talking. So that's the number one reason why I'm doing a podcast, is because I love to talk. Number two, it looked like so much fun. I've recently got into podcasts. I haven't been listening to as much music, for better or worse. I've been slacking on the music scene, but it happens to the best of us sometimes, like it really does. And I've gotten really into podcasts, which I'll talk about probably at some point, maybe on a later date, of like the podcasts I've been enjoying. But it looked like so much fun, and it looked like so creative. And I had this sort of epiphany that might seem a little silly, because it was even silly to me upon like after I had really thought about it. I kind of like took a step back and realized that all of the YouTubers that like I really enjoyed growing up, like they started making videos not in order to get famous. Like they started to make videos because making videos was fun, and because they just like had stuff that they wanted to like share in that form of content, not even necessarily to share in search of like other people acknowledging it, but just like as a fun hobby, because making videos in general is like a fun hobby for a lot of people. And like that sort of content creating, I was never like super interested in that. Never really wanted to do that. We all had a brief moment, like when iCarly came out, where you were like, I'm gonna do that. I didn't do that. But I had this epiphany where I was like, these people they just did that for fun, and then they just like so happened to get famous or whatever. And I'm sure a lot of people did it for fun and didn't get famous, and this and that. But I was like, I can do that. I was like listening to these podcasts and I was like, that sounds like so much fun. It just seems so enjoyable. And like, I don't have to do it like to get fame. I don't have to do it for like other people to listen. I can do it to like fulfill myself. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I said, I love to talk and that looks like a lot of fun. And I can just do it for fun. And like, it's not going to cost that much money. And it can just be a hobby. Now, I love hobbies. I like to think that I have lots of hobbies and that I'm good at hobbies. The fun thing about a hobby is that like it doesn't necessarily have to have a goal, or the goal doesn't have to be like to accomplish something. Like you don't have to prove it with anything necessarily. Like the goal can just be to get some enjoyment. And so like that's what this is. There like isn't really a goal. The goal is to just have fun. Now, I guess there is sort of a second half of like a goal to totally cancel out what I just said. The third reason why I kind of wanted to do a podcast was for like a tool. I love a tool. Okay. So I've been trying to work on like my anxiety for, I guess I've been actively working on it for like 8 months or so, maybe. I mean, before that I was like working on it and it was getting better, whatever. That doesn't matter. But either way, I've been like trying to work on my anxiety and stuff like that. And like I'm trying different tools in order to do that. And recently I tried journaling. Journaling's not for me. It's not for me. I do it still sometimes. But most of the time my thing is, or okay, let's restart that sentence. I have a hard time like going to bed at night. Like my brain goes on and on and on and on and on, and I just have lots and lots of thoughts in my little noggin. And so people normally say like if you're having trouble going to sleep, like journal, write down what's going on in your head and like your to-do list or whatever else is sort of happening. And so like I've tried doing that, but my issue isn't that I have like this to-do list. It's that I just have constant sort of thoughts that flow. And it happens like all throughout the day. Don't diagnose me with anything. Like that's not important. But I have like a constant stream of thoughts and journaling doesn't really help that because they just keep flowing. And so I thought that this could be a really cool outlet for those. For just being able to sort of talk about whatever I want to talk about. It's also been nice because rather than like journaling where you write it down and then you write more and more or whatever, this is kind of like I have used my phone, my little handy dandy phone, my notes app, which by the way I use the app Noto. I've gotten into Notion, and by gotten into Notion I mean I've made one Notion page for my roommate. He's coming to visit. I've made us a nice little Notion of like our just things to do and like food reservations, all that stuff. I've been really enjoying Notion, but I don't know if that's like quite a hobby yet either. So I haven't like fully switched over to the Notion life because it's like so like fancy. There's so many like things to do with it. And sometimes that's like too much. And I know that I could just use it for a basic list, but that feels wrong and I don't like it and I like want to do more with it. So I use Noto for my other notes. So anyway, I've made a podcast like Noto for just like things like thoughts that just have sort of come into my noggin that I want to talk about, or like thoughts that I find myself sort of spiraling in and thinking about all the time and whatever. So I've written them down as like I can just talk about them here. And so this is sort of my new, I'm viewing this also a little bit as a tool, but that's not the main focus. Like I said, really there's no goal. Like I don't really care if this works for that or not, or even like nothing really needs to work as much as it's just like a new fun thing to do. So that's the main thing, is that this is a new fun thing to do. So that's why I have a podcast and nobody asked. And you know, one other thing, I'm going to take some pauses, probably. I didn't think much about this, that like podcasting, I knew it was a skill in some sense because I'm sure that like there are people that have podcasts that certainly like should not have podcasts. I might be one of them. I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm enjoying it so far. I hope you're having a good time. And by you, I mean like, I know that there's sort of nobody there, sort of you, like the greater you, if that makes sense. I'm like wondering if anybody else does this, where like they talk to themselves like this, because this is how I walk around my house talking. I went from living with 4 people, where one of them was like my best friend, to living alone. I've moved. I've started my career. Ew, I don't like that word. I don't know why. I'm just like not a huge fan of the word career. I'm working on it, but also maybe I don't have to. I don't know. But anyway, I never thought that like, back to, you know, whatever tangent I was on, I never thought that like podcasting like really had that much skill, or like that it was that hard necessarily. And I don't know why I really thought that way. Probably because I just thought it looked like fun. But I can now see how maybe like over time you get better and better at podcasting, and you just get better and better at everything. And maybe you also start to form like a show, or maybe not. And maybe it's just a rambling pod. I love a rambling pod. You know what? Let's talk about the pods that I'm into currently. So like I said, I recently got into podcasts. I really hadn't listened to that many before recently. The only one that I really listened to was Emma Chamby's podcast, Anything Goes. If you're unfamiliar, the podcast is called Anything Goes with Emma Chamberlain. I personally listen to it on Spotify. I'm a Spotify girly. I'm not an Apple Music girly. I've had it downloaded and I don't like it. Like, I've tried it and it's not for me, but I've also gotten so used to Spotify now, and like religiously I could talk about my Spotify playlists like forever. I love my Spotify. But anywho, Anything Goes with Emma Chamby. Don't know like when I started listening to it. I feel like it's been a few years. When did she start it? Okay, she started in 2020. Let's see if they remember if the Spotify gods can tell me like the first one I listened to. Okay, the first one I listened to was February 25th in 2021. LOL, I listened to the fashion podcast. That's hilarious. Do you see how I look? Like my nice wet hair post shower. But I like her fashion ones. I still listen to her fashion pods. I like Emma Chamby's pods. I think that they're really good. I think they've gotten better. Like, I think she's gotten just better in general. But some of my favorites of hers, she did one a while ago about being an only child, and I thought that that one was really good and relatable because I'm also an only child. I also like her Stuff I've Been Loving podcasts. I think those ones are pretty fun and good. There was one that fully made me cry. Don't know what that was called. Like, guess we're never gonna know. Balance in Relationships was good. Choosing Between Love and Career, that was good. Yeah, I don't know. I like her stuff. I don't listen to every podcast though of hers. Like, I really only listen to the ones that I'm interested in, if that makes sense. Like, or the ones that I like feel like I can relate to. Oh my god, her parasocial relationship one was really good. I liked that one a lot. The modern romance one, that was good. okay, the one that made me cry was the running away from problems one, but I was also in a fragile state. But like that one was so good in my opinion. I thought it was like beautifully spoken and very insightful. So yes, Emma Chamby's podcast. I'm sure everybody has heard of it. The next podcast I like kind of tried to listen to was Gals on the Go because my roommate, my previous roommate, I'm going to just refer to them as my roommates because I don't care. That's what I want to do. This is my space. My roommate really liked Gals on the Go. So I gave it a try and I still do listen to it occasionally and I cannot decide if I like them or not. I just don't know. And that's okay. The fun thing about life is that like we don't all have to like the same things and it's nothing personal and it's nothing against them. Like I like love them as people. I'm assuming like they're fantastic people, but it doesn't mean that I have to like love their content. And I'm just not sure if I do. So I listen to it occasionally, but slowly I've been trying to find more. Nobody talks about how hard it is to get into finding podcasts that you actually like. Like nobody really talks about that. And I feel like the only way to do it is to talk to people who have somehow successfully found a podcast they like and then you listen to it. Like that's what I did, you know. Emma Chamby, I think. Well, I think I followed her and I followed her on YouTube for a while and then she started doing the podcast and I think that might be how I got to it, but I think also my roommate was listening to Emma Chamby's pod. So, yeah, I don't really think that there's a great like algorithm out there or a great way to find podcasts that you like. If there is, let your girl know. But I'm getting better at it. So, how am I getting better at it, you might ask? Well, I'm trying more and more and more. And what I've started doing is once I've found like one that I love, I'm then searching for just like other podcasts that those podcast hosts are featured in. Okay, so my favorite, ooh, sorry about that like mouth sound. I'm sure that was upsetting. My favorite podcast is Brooke and Connor Make a Podcast. Oh my God. I love Brooke and Connor Make a Podcast. I found Brooke and Connor like separately on TikTok, you know, during COVID whenever they like were blowing up or whatever. Didn't really think like much of them. Like I thought their stuff was funny and I liked their TikToks and then I followed both of them at some point. Don't really remember when, but I did like them, you know. I found their podcast, I don't know when, very recently, and I went ahead and listened to all of them. And like just I thought all of them are so funny. They're all so funny. Like I can go through my YouTube likes of the ones that I want. That's the other thing. Love watching them. Emma Chamby's like only audio, like never really watched the videos. Same with Gals on the Go, never watched the videos. Brooke and Connor, love the videos. Like almost always I'm watching the video. I think they're fantastic. They're so funny. I relate a lot to Brooke. And Connor, but mainly Brooke. Like we have a lot of overlap, which I don't think I really want to dive into today because we're talking about podcasts. I'm so good at staying on topic. So, yes, Brooke and Connor Make a Podcast. I've now listened to all of the episodes, and I did go ahead and join Close Friends, which I was like, when they first were talking about it, I was like, oh my God, like I cannot be paying for these people, like their content. No, I can. And you know what? I can. And I'm so glad I did. I've been now watching Close Friends. So I went back to like their first Close Friends episode and now I've been watching all of them. And I'm only on like episode 15 or something. But so far so good. I mean, it's exactly like just more content and like closer content, which is kind of cool. Like they're talking about other things and I feel like they show their vulnerable sides a little bit more and by that I mean like they will fight with each other on camera and I appreciate that and I think that is real and also like really, really funny. And I just love them and wish them the best. So yes, that's my favorite podcast. Before Brooke and Connor, I was listening to Brittany Broski's podcast, The Broski Report. Now, The Broski Report, I think, started really, really strong, and I really liked it. And before you get angry with me in the comments, I think it is still going so strong. Like I said, with these podcasts, you sort of can see then how it evolves. And so Brittany's most recent episodes aren't really quite like her original episodes. And like, that's totally cool. Like, it's her podcast. She can do whatever she wants. And like I said, not everyone has to like everything. I like the Broski Nation though. Like, I know everyone does have to like everything in Broski Nation. And that's sort of how it works. But like, there are some things that I'm not as interested in, and that's okay. And sometimes I listen to them to like learn about it or get a new perspective on something. But like, sometimes I won't. And that's okay too. So Brittany's it's kind of been more up and down lately. Loved her take on the Barbie movie. I could talk about the Barbie movie for hours. I want to write a book about it. Like, I could write my college thesis on the Barbie movie. I simply adore it. And it's like beyond a movie. It's my favorite movie, but it's just my favorite period, like, of everything. Like, it's my favorite, and I don't have to continue. It's great. So the Broski Report is a podcast that I do tune into. Oh, I keep thinking of more podcasts that I like listen to that I like didn't realize that I was listening to. Trixie and Katya's pod. I listened to that one like more than Emma Chamberlain's podcast. And that was before Britney's. I was listening to The Bald and the Beautiful. I really liked The Bald and the Beautiful. It's now sort of getting like semi-repetitive occasionally, but it still is really good. And it like fills a separate category. Brooke and Connor, like, that sort of takes almost my full attention when I'm sitting down, I'm watching the pod. Like, maybe I'm online shopping. Like, maybe I'm crocheting, but that's like all my attention for the most part. Trixie and Katya's though, I like will kind of throw that on and then like go make dinner. Or something like that. So they're more of a like a background pod than like a full attention pod. And I think that's fine. And I think that they fulfill that purpose. And sometimes like that pod has made me laugh out loud like so many times. I love Trixie and Katya. I think they are so funny. I just think they're great. I just really do think they're great. So that's another podcast I've been listening to. And recently, my most recent pod that I've started listening to from the beginning is Kelsey's podcast, Kelsey Cripple. It's called Circle Time. Whoa. I just had like an aneurysm. It is called Circle Time. And so far, that's been really good. And the thing about me and Kelsey is that I never really like knew about her, or like I just didn't. Same with Cody and Noelle. Like, that wasn't really my thing as much, or like I just didn't. I don't know why I wasn't partaking, but I wasn't. And so Kelsey's pod, I feel like I'm really getting to know her, and I'm really liking her. Like, she's so nice and funny and herself and just lovely. And I think it was one of those things where, like, you know how we all have that sort of misogyny inside of us, against ourselves, that implicit bias against ourselves. It's something that I've been working on, that I think most people are working on. And some people don't have it, and like, that's what I want to be. Like, I don't want to do that. But I think that was, and I'm accepting, and this is me learning and admitting to myself that like I was wrong. And it's not that I didn't like her or anything, but I think maybe I didn't. Totally just going against what I said, but I don't know. Like, I'm just like, damn, Emma, like, you missed out on this lovely like woman who has so many fun things to say. And I just never really took a chance on it. And like I really only found I really got was getting introduced to them through Brooke and Connor's pod and like Brittany on Cody Noel's, like all that sort of thing. So I'm just, like Brooke, like, normalize changing your mind. Like I'm changing my mind. I'm admitting I was wrong and I'm learning and I'm going to do better from now on. So that's my most recent pod. That's what I listen to. I also don't watch that one because I'm afraid that if I start watching it, then I'm only going to want to watch it. And the thing is, I need a podcast to take me to and from work. And that's like a 30-minute drive. I need a podcast for that. So I just kind of am refusing to try Kelsey's YouTube videos. I'm sure I will. And then I'm sure I'm going to only want to watch them. And like, that's a bummer. And then I'm going to have to find someone else. I've tried Hoot and a Half with Matt King a little bit. I've liked it. I've always really loved Matt King. I've always had like kind of a crush on Matt King. Like he's very my type, his personality and everything. Like just, I think he's funny and like intellectual and whatever. But I don't know about his podcast yet either. I've really only watched the ones that have guests. Oh, and Kat Wellington's, I watched a couple episodes, but I haven't. Like, I wouldn't say that one's new. Tried the Toast. Not sure if the Toast is for me. Tried the Manic episodes. Unsure still. So, yeah. Those are sort of, like, the pods that I've been listening to. Like, for Back of a Letter... For Back of a Letter... For lack of a better word, those are, I don't even know what I was going to say. The Giggly Squad. Should I try that one? I bet I would like it. I'll follow them. Hannah and Paige. See, like, I don't know about the Giggly Squad. Like, I've heard of it. I think I'm like discovering my genre stuff, of like the podcast that maybe I like. I've thought about also starting Nikki Glaser's pod. But like that's the thing, everybody has a podcast. Like there's so many podcasts nowadays. It's crazy. Because it's like an easy form of entertainment. But like I said, doesn't mean that they're good at it. Doesn't mean that I'm good at it. I don't know. I've been sitting here scrolling on my phone, not making any eye contact with you guys for like 5 minutes maybe. And that's okay, because this is my first pod. And I'm having literally so much fun. I hope you're also having fun. Let's check out my notes app. Let's see what I want to talk about. Oh, let's go back to hobbies. Let's talk about hobbies again. So, my hobbies, crocheting, that's fairly new. Like I started crocheting, my roommate and I started crocheting together. Like we learned together. We put a video up on our TV and like tried to learn. And I remember we were both like, what the hell? We were like, why is this ever so hard? Like this should not be that hard. Because we had seen like girls on TikTok actually who were like, and they could crochet like so fast and not even look at what they were doing. And I was like, oh my God, like that looks like fun. And it's a fun craft. And I love crafts. So I was like, bet, like, let's do that. It was so hard. There's a learning curve to it. And it's steep, but short. Like it's not a marathon. It's a sprint. Like it's steep, but it's not like once you get over it, it's better. It's a lot better. So I also found that with crocheting, it was hard to sort of decide what to do. So I was like, well, I'm just going to start making squares and then, make something out of those squares. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So we started, like during spring semester. So during, I don't know, near the end, maybe. Anyway, so this past spring we started. Then like I traveled and I had a summer and it was a whole thing and I just kind of stopped. And so recently when I moved, I've picked it back up again and I'm making a blanket of squares that have like flowers in them. And it's so lovely. So that's my first like hobby. I need to plug my computer in. Do you see how I'm not good at this? Give me a second. Hello. I'm back. My computer is plugged in now. So, back to my hobbies. So crocheting. That's the first hobby that I really have. I love to read. This is so embarrassing. Well, I guess it's not because I don't really care. And like I talk about it openly with everybody, so it's fine. It's on my Goodreads. I'm currently rereading Harry Potter. I had finished the book that I previously read called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I finished that one, like a 4-star. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't like great, but it did the job. That's sort of the third V.E. Schwab book I've picked up. Might be the last. Like I hate to say that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news to Miss V.E. Schwab. I don't know about V.E. My mom loved The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue though. So you do have a fan in my mother. So that's good. But anyway, I like finished that book and I was like, okay, I need something to read. And I didn't want to read sort of any of the ones that I had. So I was like, I'll just start rereading Harry Potter. Like just kind of out of interest and for fun and stuff. I was like, sure, let's do that. So I picked up the first one and then I ended up finishing it. And then I was like, well, I might as well read the second one. So now I'm reading the second one. And I wouldn't be surprised if after that, I read the third one. And, so on and so forth. I love Harry Potter. And I can't get into that today. I just can't. But it's going to come. I'm going to talk about it at some point. But anyway, that's what I'm currently reading. I love Goodreads. Goodreads is my favorite social media, my favorite app, because it's not that social. And I think that is like, I think that's what makes it a great social media. I just hit myself in the face with the microphone, by the way. Like, don't even worry about it. It's my favorite social media because it's not that social, because it's personal, because it's for me and about my interests. And at the end of the day, like I make friends and I learn things because of it. Like I'm finding new books because of it. And my friends can like my my updates, my book updates. I recently hit my goal for the year. That's so exciting. My goal was 13 books this year. And with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's, whatever your cup of tea is, that was my 13th book. So now I'm on to my 14th. And I'm so excited to see how many I'm going to actually get to, because it's October. I read at night before I go to bed. That's my routine. I have a very, I want to say it's a very strict nighttime routine, but it's gotten less and less strict as the weeks have gone on since I've started this job and done the move and stuff. It started out extremely strict, and I kind of want to go back to that. So I work really early, so I have to be in bed by 9. I think I should be in bed by 8:30. I'm not. I'm recording a podcast. I can't be in bed. I'm podcasting. It's currently 8:20 p.m. In case you were so curious and maybe wondering why the lighting is how it is, and also why you can hear the entire family upstairs above me. But anyway, my strict nighttime routine that's no longer strict used to involve, I love tea. I don't know if anybody actually loves tea though. People that love tea, I'm like, okay, do you? Or do you just love it because it makes you feel good? I guess that's how I feel about people that love to work out too sometimes. Like, people that love to work out, you probably love it because it makes you feel good ultimately. Like, I don't think many people are loving working out like while they're working out. Not me. I do it. I've always done it. And, you know, they say like, well, find the way that works out that you enjoy the most. Guess what? I found that. It was called synchronized swimming. What, like, I can't very well just like do that. I mean, I could, and I've started dabbling in synchronized swimming clubs for adults. I But like, I don't know. That's just not like a practical thing. It's not like people are like, I love to run. I love to bike. My mom loves to, well, she ran a lot and she loves to bike. Those are practical. I love to lift weights. I love to do synchronized swimming. It's a great workout. Oh my God, it's such a good workout. It's so hard. And it's great for like your lungs and like endurance and strength and just all of the things that, you know, you need to work out. It's so good. It's so fun. I recommend everybody tries it. It's literally so much fun. But like, yeah, so find what you like to do to enjoy working out. But like, guess what? Sometimes like you can't, and you just have to do the workouts that aren't good. I have an Orange Theory membership. I know. It was expensive, and they made me buy that heart monitor thing. I was upset about that. But I needed the structure. I needed I needed almost to spend the money because it makes me feel like I have to go. Like if I just do a gym membership that's like cheap, this is so sad. But if I do a gym membership that's cheap, like currently in my life, I don't know if I would go as much. I'm getting back to it. I mean, I used to. Like I used to be able to do that pretty frequently, like all the time. But yeah, lately I need this structure. And I love that I show up to class. I don't have to think about my workout. I don't have to think about like, oh, what am I going to do today? Oh, it's leg day. I need to come up with like all of the exercises I want to do and the times and the weight and all this stuff. No, like it's pretty much all given to you. The weight you have to choose. That's okay. I can handle choosing my own weight. And honestly, might prefer choosing my own weight. I don't know. Maybe a personal trainer would be cool at some point. Or like one of those class, I don't know, where like they make you do crazy weights or whatever. Anyway, Orange Theory, do I think it's worth the money? Like absolutely not. It's certainly not. I would never like go to someone and be like, oh my God, you need to do Orange Theory. No, you don't. You shouldn't. I don't want to, but I really am enjoying it right now. Like it is the only reason I would tell somebody like to do Orange Theories if they were in the exact situation as me, where like they want to start working out again, but they really need like the push and the structure and the stability and the routine. That is like the only reason I would tell somebody to do it. It's a really good way to like get myself back into working out. Don't know if I'm going to stop it. With that being said, not sure if I'm going to stop it. We'll see. It's like I said, it's like rotten expensive, but it's worth it for me. And like, I'm a big, what's the word? Advocate? I'm going to go with advocate. I'm a big advocate for like spending money, like spend your money that you earned. And I know privilege and everything. And I like will die on the hill that privilege is so important. It's so important to talk about. With that being said, I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I'm just going to acknowledge it. And I know my heart that like, I know that that's very important to me and something to talk about. And I know that I am very privileged. Two things can be true though. I can be very privileged and I can also work really hard for where I got. And I did that, you know, I got through my major and now I'm making money and I can spend my money now. And I could be spending it on awful, terrible things. But I'm spending it on a really rotten, expensive gym membership and rent and food. That's kind of it. I've gone to some bars and stuff with friends. It's been pretty fun. I'm making friends. It's all been pretty good so far. So far, so good. If I might add, so far, so good. But yeah, I'm a big advocate for like spending the money that you've earned. I was a big saver as a child. You know, I would get my allowance, my like 25 cents, you know, a week or whatever. And I bought a trampoline. I saved my money and bought myself a trampoline when I was a child. I also bought myself my DS, I'm pretty sure, and my first MP3 player, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I don't think I am though. I like saved the money that I made for years, for months and months and months, and I would buy myself those things. So I was really good at saving, and that's sort of carried through with me through high school and college. Obviously through high school I was saving for college. And then while I was in college, I was sort of using that money partially for rent, but then, you know, for like spending money and stuff like that, food, whatever. But now I like have money and I'm going to spend it because that's what I want to do. And it makes me happy. I'm in my materialistic era is like what I've been saying to people. Like I'm fully in my materialistic era and I'm loving it. I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm a little afraid to bring that up because I'm worried that it's not going to be an era, but I think it is. Like I'm definitely slowing down, and it's not like I was spending it on things I didn't need. I needed stuff. I didn't have a couch. This was a big girl purchase with my own money. My side table. Don't look at it in too much detail because it's kind of messy. This is my diffuser. My side table though is lily pads, and I got it from Urban because I'm basic. Guess what? I'm just like everybody else. I love Urban Outfitters. I love Urban Outfitters. It's great. Their furniture, like some of it, is so cute and quirky. So these are like lily pads. Also, these are I crocheted these. They're flowers. They're coasters. They weren't supposed to be coasters. They were supposed to go on my squares. But this was back when I was like still learning how to crochet and I was doing everything wrong. So like these are the wrong size, and like this one I think has like a few too many petals. So I just made them coasters. I don't know if I really like them over here. I kind of want to make, oh my God, I should make like either the lily pad flowers as coasters or like a frog. Oh my God, or a tadpole. Could you imagine a tadpole coaster with like a cute little tail? Wow, what a great idea. Like I need to write that down or I'm going to forget it. I'll listen to this back, or maybe I won't. But anyway, so like I'm spending my money on like things I need. So my coffee table, my TV stand, my couch. I didn't have any of those things, if you can believe it. Moved in, like didn't have my bar stools right there. This room, I had nothing. I had stuff for a bedroom, but all my old roommates had furnished our living room in our last place. So I didn't have anything. I'm also an only child and I live out of state. So it wasn't like I got like hand-me-downs, you know, like I just kind of had to figure it out. And I was in a place where I just I needed to go out and buy the stuff. I couldn't like Facebook Marketplace it. It's a whole thing. But just take my word for it. You know my heart. This is my materialistic era. And you know what? I might wrap up on that. So let's do a quick summary of what we discussed today so that I don't accidentally discuss it next time. We discussed why I'm podcasting in this podcast. So thank you for joining me in my podcast. I had fun. I really did. So we discussed why I'm podcasting. We discussed hobbies, podcasts that I'm interested in. Let me know if there are any podcasts like, I don't know, that you like. Not, I like can't fathom that anybody is listening to this though. So like, I'm gonna redact that entire sentence. We talked about, what else did we talk about? Books. Oh, my hobbies, books, crocheting. We dove very briefly into my hobbies. Wow, and we didn't even get to most of them because I got stuck on a tangent. So we only talked about crocheting and reading, I'm pretty sure, and now podcasting. Maybe we'll go into those some other day. And last but not least, we talked about, hey, spending money. Hey, being materialistic. Hey, get yourself a little treat. Okay? Just do it. I'm just like everybody else. Get yourself a little treat. I'm going to get myself a little treat. And yeah, thank you for joining me on, I don't have a name for this podcast. Eh, that's like a later problem. Really, it's quite honestly a later problem. I'll think on it. Or maybe I won't. Bye.